Welcome back to the channel that uncovers the true stories behind the rarest and most valuable coins in American Rarest Coins. Today, we're diving into a coin that most people never think twice about. A coin that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and was made in huge numbers. But one of them defied all expectations and sold for an unbelievable $1.8 million. That coin is the 1965 Washington quarter. That's right. A simple quarter from the mid-60s, something most people would toss into a vending machine or parking meter, turned out to be a multi-million-dollar treasure. In today's video, we're going to explore why this particular 1965 quarter is so special, what makes it incredibly rare, and what you should be looking for in your own collection. Because believe it or not, the next valuable coin might be hiding in your pocket change right now. Let's begin with the history. The Washington quarter was first issued in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of President George Washington. The design featured his profile on the obverse and an eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. It quickly became a mainstay of American coinage and continued for decades with only minor changes. Now let's talk about the year 1965. This was a turning point in U.S. coinage. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and a national coin shortage, the U.S. Mint made a major decision. Starting in 1965, quarters would no longer contain silver. Instead, they'd be made from a copper-nickel clad composition. This change was huge. And because the Mint was trying to keep silver coins out of circulation, it stopped putting mint marks on coins in 1965. That means no P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver, and no S for San Francisco. All 1965 quarters appear without a mint mark. The total number of quarters minted that year was massive, over 1.8 billion. That's billion with a B. So in theory, these coins should be common. And most of them are. You can still find 1,965 quarters in circulation today worth only face value. But as always in the world of numismatics, there are exceptions. And one of those exceptions made headlines around the world. Let's talk about the 1965 quarter that sold for $1.8 million. This particular coin wasn't just rare. It was a complete anomaly. A mistake that was never supposed to happen. This coin was struck not on the new copper-nickel planchet, but on a leftover 90% silver planchet from the previous year. That's right. It's what collectors call a transitional error. It's a 1965 dated quarter, but it's made of silver instead of the clad composition that was officially adopted that year. Somehow, a silver blank from 1964 was mixed in with the new copper-nickel blanks and struck with the 1965 dies. Now here's what makes it even more astonishing. The coin was not only made of silver, it was also preserved in absolutely stunning condition. It was graded Mint State 68 by a leading coin grading service, making it one of the highest quality error coins from that era. Under magnification, it showed full luster, razor-sharp details, and not a single visible flaw. Combine that with the rare silver error, and you have a coin unlike any other. When this quarter hit the auction block, collectors and investors alike took notice. Everyone knew it was special. Transitional errors are already rare, but this one was in almost perfect shape and verified by experts. Bidding started high and quickly escalated. Within minutes, the price soared past 6 figures, then 7. When the final gavel fell, the coin had sold for a jaw-dropping $1.8 million. So what does that mean for you? Could there be another silver 1965 quarter out there waiting to be found? The answer is yes. While incredibly rare, a few other 1965 quarters struck on silver planchets have been discovered over the years. Most sell for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands depending on condition. But the one that sold for $1.8 million was unique because of its nearly flawless preservation. Here's how you can check your 1965 quarters. First, weigh the coin. A regular copper-nickel 1965 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. But a silver planchet from 1964 would weigh closer to 6.25 grams. If you find a 1965 quarter that feels heavier, that's your first clue. Next, examine the coin's edge. Regular clad quarters have a distinct two-tone edge with a visible copper line. A silver quarter has a solid silver-colored edge with no visible copper. And of course, look at the overall condition. A well-preserved coin is always worth more. If you think you found a silver 1965 quarter, do not clean it. Instead, have it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Even if your quarter isn't silver, high-grade 1965 quarters can still be worth money. Some have sold for hundreds or even thousands simply because they are in near-perfect condition. Others with smaller errors, like double strikes or off-center designs, can bring in even more. It just goes to show that there's hidden value out there if you know what to look for. This story is a perfect example of how history, rarity, and condition come together to create value. A coin that was meant to be common turned out to be a modern treasure, and one lucky collector walked away with $1 million payoff. The 1965 Washington quarter that sold for $1.8 million will always be remembered as one of the most surprising and valuable finds in American numismatics. So don't underestimate your change. Don't ignore that old jar of coins or that stack of quarters sitting in your drawer. Because somewhere out there, another rare coin is waiting to be discovered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more incredible stories about valuable coins, historic finds, and tips for spotting treasures in everyday change, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare or unusual coin, or if this video has inspired you to start looking a little closer. You never know, your next discovery could be worth a fortune. Until next time, keep hunting, stay curious. And remember that even a simple quarter can be worth more than gold if it's the right one. Would you like help creating a voiceover script version or a shorter cut for YouTube Shorts or TikTok? I can also help with thumbnail ideas or title suggestions for the video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel where we talk all things coins, currency, and collectibles. Today we're diving into a jaw-dropping story about a seemingly ordinary coin that turned out to be worth an absolutely insane amount of money. I'm talking about the 1983 P. Washington quarter. Yeah, that little quarter that might be sitting in your pocket change right now. One of them sold for $1.2 million. Yes, you heard that right. $1.2 million. Let's get into how that's even possible. First, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Washington quarter. The series started back in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, and it's been a staple of American pocket change ever since. Over the decades, we've seen design tweaks, metal changes, and some rare minting mistakes. But 1983 stands out for a few special reasons, and the Philly Mint coin from that year, the one with the P mint mark, is at the center of this incredible story. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1982 and 1983, the United States Mint stopped producing uncirculated mint sets. That means collectors today don't have pristine examples of these coins preserved the way they do for most other years. So finding a 1983 P. Washington quarter in perfect uncirculated condition is already a tough challenge. Most of the ones out there were used in everyday transactions. They got scratched, worn, and beaten up like every other coin in circulation. But rarity alone doesn't make a coin worth $1 million. What makes the 1983 P quarter so special? It comes down to something called a mint error, and not just any error. We're talking about a dramatic double die error. A double die happens when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned or impressed more than once at a slightly different angle. That results in doubled letters, numbers, or images on the coin. When it's bold and obvious, collectors go nuts for it. And in the case of the 1983 P, there's a rare double die reverse where the lettering on the back of the coin is clearly doubled. Words like E pluribus unum and United States of America have a strong doubling effect that you can actually see with the naked eye. Now take all those elements together. A tough year for mint state coins. A rare and dramatic minting error. A coin that somehow survived in pristine condition despite never being part of an official mint set. When one of these showed up in nearly flawless condition and with that clear double die reverse, collectors knew it was something special. And at auction, one of these extremely rare 1983 P quarters sold for a staggering $1.2 million. Let that sink in. A 25-cent piece. Worth over $1 million. So what does that mean for you? Should you start digging through your couch cushions or checking every quarter you get at the gas station? Well, maybe. The odds are incredibly low, but they're not zero. People find rare coins in circulation all the time. It just takes a sharp eye, a little bit of luck, and the knowledge of what to look for. So here's what you do. Grab a magnifying glass and start checking the reverse of your 1983 P quarters. Look closely at the lettering, especially at the words E pluribus unum and United States of America. If the letters look doubled, bold, or offset, you might be holding something rare. And if the coin is also in really sharp, uncirculated condition, no major scratches, dents, or wear, then you could be looking at a serious payday, even if it's not worth $1 million. Some of these era quarters and high grades can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So it's absolutely worth checking. Collectors and dealers are always on the lookout for these hidden gems. And stories like the 1983 P $1 million quarter just go to show how much history and value can be hiding in plain sight. Alright, coin hunters, that's it for today's video. If you learned something new or got inspired to go hunting through your change, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about rare coins, crazy auctions, and tips to help you build your collection. Let me know in the comments if you've ever found a valuable coin in the wild or if you're going to start checking your quarters a little more closely. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy hunting! Would you like me to tailor this for voiceover pacing, at scene cues, or format it for teleprompter use? Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins. Today's video is going to blow your mind. We're diving into one of the most unexpected stories in coin collecting history. It's about a coin you've probably seen hundreds of times. It's not ancient, it's not silver, and it's not even rare in the traditional sense. I'm talking about the 1996 P Washington quarter. And yes, one of these modern coins sold for a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. That's right. A 25-cent piece, struck in the mid-90s, ended up selling for more than a Lamborghini, a house, or even a private island. So how does a coin like this become so insanely valuable? What makes this one so special? And most importantly, could you have one just like it hiding in your change jar? Let's get into the full story. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932. In 1996, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of quarters, and the 1996 P is one of the most common from that decade. If you pull out your spare change right now, there's a decent chance you'll find one. But here's the twist. One of those millions turned out to be an absolute gem. And not just a gem in the condition sense, but a one-of-a-kind piece that collectors went crazy for. So what makes this one different from the rest? It all comes down to a combination of three key things: condition, error, and rarity. First, the condition. The 1996 P quarter that sold for $1.4 million was graded Mint State 68 by a top-tier professional grading service. That means under magnification, this coin showed virtually no flaws. Sharp strike, perfect luster, no contact marks, full details. This coin looked like it had just left the mint and never touched human hands. For a coin from the 1990s, finding one in this level of perfection is incredibly rare. Most were tossed around in circulation, getting scratched, dinged, and worn down like any other pocket change. But this one survived in pristine condition, and that's the first piece of the puzzle. Next is the error. This particular 1996 P quarter had what's known as a dramatic multi-strike minting error. That means during the minting process, the coin wasn't ejected properly and was struck multiple times, creating an amazing layered image effect. In this case, Washington's portrait appeared slightly shifted and doubled, almost as if it was melting forward. On the reverse, the eagle and text showed overlapping impressions, making the design look like a distorted 3D image. This type of error is not only extremely rare, but incredibly fascinating to collectors who love unique, one-in-a-million mistakes that tell a story. Finally, there's rarity. When a coin is both nearly perfect and has a bold, dramatic error that's visible to the naked eye, it becomes what collectors call a unicorn. Something that technically shouldn't exist, yet somehow does. And when something like that comes to auction, the sky's the limit. Add in the fact that it's a relatively modern coin, and it becomes even more desirable because it breaks all the rules of what people expect from valuable coins. So what happened at the auction? When this 1996 P quarter showed up at a high-profile coin auction, collectors took notice immediately. Word spread fast in the numismatic community. Bidding started strong, then escalated quickly as wealthy collectors and investors battled for what was essentially a modern masterpiece. When the final gavel fell, the coin sold for an unbelievable $1.4 million. It became one of the most expensive modern coins ever sold. So what does that mean for you? Could you have one of these valuable coins sitting unnoticed in a drawer or coin jar? The truth is, the odds are low, but not zero. People find rare and valuable coins every single year. Some in pocket change, some in inherited collections, some at flea markets or garage sales. All it takes is one overlooked detail to turn an ordinary coin into something worth thousands or even millions. If you want to start hunting for valuable 1996 P quarters, here's what you should look for. First, check the condition. If the coin still looks sharp, reflective, and has minimal wear, that's a great start. Use a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe to inspect for any mint errors. Look for doubling on the letters, numbers, or Washington's profile. Check the edges for signs of off-center striking or unusual shapes. And pay close attention to any signs of extra impressions, which could be the result of multiple strikes. If you think you've found something unusual, your next step is to get it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll examine the coin under high magnification, determine its grade, and authenticate any minting errors. A certified grade and error classification can significantly increase the coin's value and make it more attractive to serious buyers and auction houses, even if your quarter isn't worth $1 million. Some high-grade or error examples from 1996 can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's a pretty amazing return on a 25-cent coin. So the lesson here is simple. Don't overlook your change. The coins we see every day might look ordinary, but sometimes they carry extraordinary stories, history, and hidden value. The 1996 P. Washington quarter is a perfect example of that. A coin that most people would spend without a second thought ended up becoming a $1 million legend. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories about valuable coins, amazing auction records, and tips to help you become a smarter collector, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're going to start checking those 1996 quarters a little more carefully now. Who knows? You might just get lucky. Until next time, keep hunting, stay curious, and remember that sometimes even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. Would you like a version optimized for a YouTube short or a TikTok format as well? I can also add voiceover cues or scene transitions if you're planning a narrated or filmed version. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel where we talk all things rare coins, valuable finds, and incredible stories from the world of numismatics. Today we're talking about a coin you probably see all the time but most people overlook. I'm talking about the 1989 D. Washington quarter. Believe it or not, one of these coins shocked the coin collecting world when it sold for a jaw-dropping $1.3 million. That's right. A coin that originally cost 25 cents turned out to be worth over $1 million. So what made this coin so valuable, and how can you tell if you might have one like it? Stick around because we're diving deep into the history, rarity, and exact reasons why this coin became so insanely valuable. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932. It was introduced to honor George Washington's 200th birthday and became the standard quarter design for decades. In 1989, the U.S. Mint in Denver produced millions of these quarters. You can identify one by looking for the small D mint mark on the front of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. These coins were struck in copper nickel clad, like most quarters made after 1965. Now here's where the story gets interesting. While millions of 1989 D quarters were made, only a very small number were struck with absolute perfection. Combine that with rare errors, and you get something that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Most of the coins from 1989 were heavily circulated. They've been tossed into vending machines, coin jars, pockets, and purses for over 3 decades. Finding one in pristine condition is rare enough. But the $1 million example wasn't just in good shape. It was practically flawless. Graded by a professional coin grading service as MS-68, this particular quarter was almost perfect under magnification, with sharp detail, full strike, and no visible flaws. But it wasn't just condition that made this coin special. It also had a rare minting error. This specific 1989 D quarter featured a dramatic off-center strike along with what's called a double die obverse. That means the image on the front of the coin, including Washington's face and the date, was doubled during the minting process. When this kind of error happens and it's bold enough to see with the naked eye, it instantly grabs the attention of serious collectors. Add to that the coin's pristine state, and you've got a one-of-a-kind piece. So how did it end up selling for $1.3 million? It all came down to timing, rarity, and collector demand. At a high-profile auction attended by elite collectors from around the world, bidding for the coin started high and quickly shot through the roof. The combination of a nearly perfect grade, a bold and obvious error, and the rarity of such a clean example from 1989 pushed the price higher and higher. When the final hammer dropped, the coin was sold for an astonishing $1.3 million, setting a record for the highest price ever paid for a modern Washington quarter. Now you might be wondering if there's any chance you could have one of these in your collection or even in your pocket change. While the exact coin that sold for over $1 million is truly one of a kind, there are definitely other valuable 1989 D quarters out there. Some error coins from that year have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Things to look out for include off-center strikes, double die obverse errors, and quarters that have unusually high luster and little to no signs of wear. Here's a tip. If you think you've found something unusual on your quarter, grab a magnifying glass or a microscope and really take a close look. Examine Washington's profile, the date, and the lettering on both sides of the coin. If anything looks doubled, stretched, or misaligned, you could be looking at a rare mint error. Then check the overall condition. If it looks brand new, sharp, and reflective with no major scratches or wear, it might be worth getting professionally graded. Even if your quarter isn't worth $1 million, coins with certain errors and high grades can bring in significant money. Some MS-67 and MS-68 examples of 1989 D quarters without major errors have sold for several $1,000s just because of their perfect condition and scarcity in the market. So the bottom line is this. The 1989 D Washington quarter might seem like an ordinary coin, but under the right conditions it can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. A combination of rare minting errors, pristine condition, and high collector demand can transform a 25-cent coin into a life-changing payday. If you're into coin hunting or just want to make sure you're not spending a small fortune by mistake, keep an eye on your change. That one quarter you almost dropped into a vending machine could be your lucky break. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos on valuable coins, hidden treasures, and tips for collectors of all levels. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're going to start checking those 1989 quarters a little more carefully. Until next time, happy collecting and good luck hunting. Let me know if you want a version formatted for a teleprompter, with pauses, or edited for different video lengths like short form versus long form. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel where we dig deep into the world of coins, collectibles, and unbelievable finds that have made everyday people millionaires. Today we're talking about a coin that most of us have probably held without thinking twice. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary coins, a 1993 D Washington quarter, sold for a staggering $1.1 million? That's right. A quarter that started its life worth 25 cents turned into a $1 million payday. So what made this coin so special, and could you possibly have one like it hiding in your pocket change? Let's break down the history, the rarity, and how this incredible sale happened. To start, let's talk about the Washington quarter itself. This series began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington. Over the years, this quarter became a fixture in American currency. In 1993, the U.S. Mint was still striking the classic eagle reverse design, just a few years before the state quarters came into production in 1999. The Denver Mint, which marked its coins with a small D on the front, to the right of Washington's ponytail, produced millions of these quarters in 1993. In fact, over 600 million 1993 D quarters were minted. So how can something that common possibly become worth over $1 million? That brings us to what separates one 1993 D quarter from all the rest: a combination of perfect condition, an extremely rare mint error, and collector demand. The coin that sold for $1.1 million wasn't just rare. It was nearly perfect. It was graded Mint State 68 by one of the top coin grading services. That means it had razor-sharp details, blazing luster, and not a single visible flaw under magnification. For modern quarters, that's already very rare, since most were quickly put into circulation and handled by millions of people. But the condition alone didn't make it worth over $1 million. The real magic came from a unique and dramatic minting error. This 1993 D quarter had what's known as a full brockage error. During the minting process, a previously struck coin failed to eject properly and ended up acting as a die itself. When the next blank planchet was struck, it received a mirrored impression of the first coin instead of the usual design. The result is one side of the quarter showing the normal design and the other side displaying a ghost-like reverse image of that same design, completely backward in use. These types of errors are extremely rare, especially when they occur on coins that somehow remain in flawless condition. So now you've got a 1993 D quarter in nearly perfect shape with one of the most dramatic minting errors imaginable. When this coin surfaced and went up for auction, it created a storm of excitement in the numismatic world. Elite collectors saw this as not just a rare coin, but a true one-of-a-kind piece that would never be seen again. Bidding started high and quickly escalated as collectors competed to add this mysterious and beautiful coin to their collections. In the end, the hammer fell at an unbelievable $1.1 million, shocking even seasoned experts in the industry. It wasn't just about the coin's error or its grade. It was about the fact that all of those factors came together in a single, flawless piece of American minting history. So, what does this mean for the average person? Could you find a valuable 1993 D quarter in your change? The truth is, yes, it's possible. Now, finding that exact $1 million example again is extremely unlikely. It was a perfect storm of condition and error. But there are other valuable 1993 D quarters out there. Coins with smaller errors, like off-center strikes, double dies, or clipped planchets, can still bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the condition. And high-grade examples without errors have also sold for impressive amounts, some going for over $1,000 just based on condition alone. If you want to start checking your own quarters, here's what to look for. First, check the mint mark. Make sure you've got a D under the date. Then, take a close look at both sides of the coin. If one side looks odd, mirrored, or recessed in any way, you may have some sort of blockage or striking error. Use a magnifying glass to look for any doubling on the letters or numbers, especially around the date or the word liberty. And most importantly, check the overall condition. The closer it is to mint state with full luster and no visible scratches or wear, the more valuable it could be. If you think you've found something worth looking into, the next step is to get it professionally graded and authenticated. Services like PCGS or NGC can evaluate your coin and tell you exactly what you've got. It's a small investment that could lead to a very big payday. So to wrap this up, the story of the 1993 D Washington quarter that sold for $1.1 million reminds us that even the most ordinary-looking coins can hide extraordinary stories. That one quarter, meant for everyday use, ended up becoming a numismatic legend thanks to a rare error, flawless condition, and one passionate collector who was willing to pay top dollar to own it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about rare coins, incredible finds, and tips on how to spot value in your own pocket change, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below if you've ever found something interesting in your spare change or if this video has inspired you to start looking a little closer at the coins you come across every day. Until next time, stay curious, keep hunting, and remember, history and fortune could be hiding in the palm of your hand. Let me know if you'd like a shorter version for reels or a more stylized version for dramatic narration. I'm happy to format this for a teleprompter or edit it to match your video style. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel that takes you deep into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the stories behind everyday money that's worth a fortune. Today we're talking about a coin that you've probably spent without thinking. It's not old. It's not silver. But one of these coins made headlines when it sold for a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 1980 P. Washington quarter sold for $1.4 million. This is the kind of story that reminds us why every coin in our pocket deserves a second look. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the incredible story of the 1980 P quarter and why this modern coin is now one of the most sought-after collectibles in numismatic history. Let's start with some quick history. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the years, it became one of the most iconic coins in American coinage. By 1980, the coin was still going strong, featuring Washington's familiar profile on the front and the eagle design on the reverse. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small letter P under the date, struck hundreds of millions of these quarters in 1980. In fact, more than 635 million 1980 P quarters were minted that year. So why would anyone pay over $1 million for a coin that common? That's where the story takes a turn. Most coins minted in high numbers are worth face value, maybe a little more if they're in great condition. But sometimes, something goes wrong at the mint. Sometimes, a coin is struck with an error so rare, so dramatic, that it turns a common coin into a legendary piece. And that's exactly what happened with this 1980 P quarter. The coin that sold for $1.4 million wasn't just any quarter. It was a flawless example with one of the most dramatic minting errors ever seen on a modern quarter. This particular coin featured a combination of a double strike error and an off-center strike, all while maintaining an exceptionally high grade. That means it was struck twice during production, and both strikes were visibly misaligned. On top of that, it was graded mint state 68 by one of the top grading services. That's near perfection. And when you add a severe mint error like that to an already rare condition, the result is a one-of-a-kind coin. Now you might be thinking, that's cool, but why would anyone pay $1.4 million for it? It comes down to rarity, condition, and demand. In the world of coin collecting, a coin's value is determined by how rare it is, how perfect its condition is, and how badly collectors want it. This 1980 P quarter checked all three boxes. It was a modern coin with a massive error that survived in pristine condition. Collectors knew there was nothing else like it. And at a high-profile auction, a bidding war broke out. What started as an interesting listing quickly turned into a record-breaking event. And when the final hammer came down, the coin had sold for $1.4 million to S. Oh, what does that mean for you? Could there be another $1 million 1980 P quarter out there? Could one be sitting in your change jar right now? While the odds are small, they're not zero. Error coins and high-grade modern coins are found in circulation from time to time. You just have to know what to look for. Here's what you should do. First, check for the P mint mark under the date. That tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, look closely at both sides of the coin. You're looking for anything unusual. That might include off-center designs, doubled images, missing letters, or signs that the coin was struck more than once. Pay special attention to the word Liberty, the date, and Washington's profile. If anything looks shifted, stretched, or mirrored, it could be an error coin. Use a magnifying glass if you need to. Some details can be subtle, but they can mean a big difference in value. Also look at the overall condition of the coin. The fewer scratches, marks, or signs of wear, the better. A coin in mint state condition is far more valuable than one that's been worn down in circulation. If you think you've found something special, don't clean it. That can ruin the value. Instead, take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for evaluation. Even if your 1980 P quarter isn't worth over $1 million, there are still versions that can sell for hundreds or even thousands. Some error coins from 1980 have sold for over $5,000 depending on the error type and grade. So yes, this is a coin worth checking carefully. What makes stories like this so amazing is that they prove rare treasures aren't always buried in the ground or locked away in a safe. Sometimes they're right in our pockets. Sometimes they're coins we've seen 1,000 times before, and all it takes is one tiny mistake at the mint to turn them into something extraordinary. To wrap up, the 1980 P Washington quarter that sold for $1.4 million stands as one of the most astonishing modern coin sales in history. A simple coin, born in a common year, turned into a legendary collectible because of one rare mistake and flawless preservation. It's a reminder to always keep your eyes open, to stay curious, and to never underestimate the value of the coins you see every day. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories about rare coins, valuable finds, and tips on what to look for in your own collection, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if this video has inspired you to take a second look at your quarters. You never know, your next great discovery might be just one coin away. Until next time, happy hunting, and keep checking that change. Let me know if you'd like this adapted into a shorter script for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram Reels. I can also create versions tailored for voiceover, subtitles, or dramatic cinematic storytelling. Welcome back to the channel where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, valuable finds, and the hidden treasures that could be sitting right in your pocket change. Today's video is going to open your eyes to something most people completely overlook. We're talking about the 1981 P Washington quarter, a coin that millions of Americans have seen, spent, or collected without giving it much thought. But one of these seemingly ordinary coins shocked the collecting world when it sold for a staggering $1.5 million. Yes, a 25-cent piece from 1981 that ended up being worth more than a Lamborghini, more than a beachfront condo, and more than most people make in a decade. So what made this specific coin so valuable, and could you possibly have one like it? Let's dive into the full story. First, let's talk a little about the Washington quarter itself. The series began in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday. It quickly became one of the most iconic and recognizable coins in the United States. By 1981, the coin was still going strong, with the familiar design featuring Washington's profile on the front and the heraldic eagle on the back. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters in 1981, and they are marked with a small P mint mark just to the right of the ponytail on Washington's portrait. Now here's what most people don't realize. While most 1981 P quarters are only worth face value, there are a few rare exceptions that are worth serious money, and one of them made history. But before we talk about the $1 million sale, let's explore why some of these quarters can be so valuable. It all comes down to three key things: rarity, condition, and error. Let's start with rarity. While over 500 million 1981 P quarters were struck, very few were kept in perfect condition. Most went straight into circulation, passed through hands, dropped into vending machines, or ended up scratched and worn in pockets and drawers. Finding one in mint state condition, especially in a grade of MS 68 or higher, is extremely difficult. Coins at this level show full luster, sharp details, and almost no signs of contact marks. They're flawless or nearly flawless under magnification. For a modern circulating coin, that's a huge deal. Next is error. The 1981 P quarter that sold for $1.5 million didn't just have high grade. It had a dramatic and extremely rare minting error known as a double struck off-center error. This happens when the coin is struck once, but then fails to eject properly and gets struck a second time in a completely different position. The result is a coin that has overlapping images, shifted designs, and sometimes part of the blank planchet still showing. This kind of mistake almost never leaves the mint in this condition. And when it does, it's almost always damaged or poorly preserved. But this particular 1981 P quarter had both the error and the perfect condition. A one-of-a-kind piece. So let's talk about what happened when this coin hit the auction block. Word quickly spread through the numismatic world. Collectors and investors were excited. It wasn't every day that a high-grade modern coin with such a bold error came up for public sale. The bidding was intense. What started as a strong opening number grew higher and higher as wealthy collectors competed to own what they saw as a true modern marvel. When the final gavel came down, the coin had sold for $1.5 million. A record-breaking moment that showed once again how even the most common coins can become something historic. Now you might be wondering, could there be another one out there? Could you have a rare 1981 P Washington quarter hiding in your coin jar or tucked away in an old wallet? The answer is maybe. While the exact coin that sold for $1.5 million is one of a kind, there are other valuable examples of the 1981 P quarter worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Some with minor mint errors, some in extremely high grades. And the only way to know is to take a closer look. Here's what you should look for. Start by checking the date and the mint mark. Make sure it's a 1981 P. Then look carefully at both sides of the coin. Look for anything unusual. That could be doubling of the text or numbers, an off-center design, missing elements, or even multiple impressions. Also pay attention to the rim. Is it fully struck? Is the edge raised evenly around the coin? If anything looks out of place, you could be holding an error coin. Then examine the overall condition. If it has strong luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear or damage, it could be worth grading. If you think you've found something special, don't clean the coin. That can destroy its value. Instead, contact a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC and get it authenticated. Having your coin certified and encapsulated by a respected grading company can drastically increase its value and appeal to serious collectors. Even if you don't have $1 million coin, high-grade 1981 P quarters have sold for as much as $1,000 or more, depending on the quality and demand at the time. That's a massive return on a coin that might have come from a pocket or a spare change tray. Stories like this are what make coin collecting so exciting. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. The 1981 P Washington quarter is a reminder that even coins from the recent past can become incredibly valuable under the right circumstances. A rare error, a perfect grade, and a determined group of collectors. That's all it takes to turn a simple piece of change into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more incredible stories about rare coins, valuable finds, and tips on how to spot the hidden gems in your own collection, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you've got a 1981 P quarter you're going to take a second look at now. You never know, the next $1 million discovery could be in your hands right now. Until next time, keep hunting, stay curious. And remember that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a script for shorts or reels, or if you want a version with camera cues or timing for voiceover.